Welcome back, happy little workers. Today we're going to tackle Marinas Bay. How happy were you when you heard that this map was being brought back? For me, initially, I was cautiously optimistic. They had to make changes that could factor in the extra bosses and movement changes in Splatoon 3, right? Well, they didn't. It's almost a carbon copy from Splatoon 2. They made some changes to the fans on the lifts, but that's it. So if you hated it in Splatoon 2 like I did, you probably hate it now. In this series, I'm going to talk about the different maps for Salmon Run and try to share some advice. It will be mostly general map advice, as the Night Waves deserve their own episodes with more discussion, although we'll touch briefly on them should I feel like it's worth mentioning. As like the video with spawning grounds, this is mostly for freelance, as with overfishing and squad games you play very differently, so bear that in mind. So what's the deal with Marinas Bay? Well, if you played Salmon Run enough, you'll probably agree that this map is tough for several reasons. It's so large that spawns from any direction take a long time to reach the basket, which can pose the endlessly annoying question, to lure or not to lure. Granted, in Splatoon 3 we have egg throw, but from all my experience, it seems the common issues that Marooners Bay suffered with in Splatoon 2 are exactly the same now. On normal tide, the ship itself has lifts either side that you can drop down to get to the bosses and eggs, but the basket area and the immediate platforms in front feel tight, cramped, and easily susceptible to becoming overrun. And don't even get me started on the positions that Stinger's spawning. A pleasant surprise is low tide, which is generally quite a well thought out layout. Much like spawning grounds, this map wasn't made with Splatoon 3 in mind. It becomes even more difficult on high tide when you factor in fish sticks and slamming lids. It's a shame the map wasn't changed to suit the needs of Splatoon 3, but fear not. I have 5 bits of advice that you can take with you on your dreaded boat ride should you find yourself wanting to play freelance. Number 1. I'm just going to say it, but don't be that person at basket in a freelance game that refuses to leave basket and spams this way repeatedly. I know you want to lure, I can see it in your eyes, but your teammates don't know that, and you have no idea what level of understanding your teammates have of the game itself. What if you did lure several bosses, but then your teammates all die because nobody can quickly take care of them? Trust me, in Marinas Bay, it's better to just go down to the shore with them and help them, especially when the spawns are steelheads, eels, and floppers. These bosses can make the tiny area around basket an actual nightmare. You have nowhere to go and no escape except for jumping off the ship itself. You can potentially bring scrappers and moors back to basket if you understand how to take aggro away from other players, but don't make this priority and only lure if it's safe to do so. You also neglect fast static spawns when you spend time waiting for lures to come to the basket on this map. You can easily waste 15 seconds spamming this way and trying to bring one steelhead to basket, or you can run down with your teammates, clear 2 or 3 bosses quickly and throw some eggs up and move on to the next challenge. If at the beginning of your freelance game, your teammates run to shore, go help them and assist with getting eggs back to basket quickly. It's far easier to run eggs for the first few boss kills early on and trying to secure the quota rather than waiting for things to come to the basket. Trust me when I say that quota is an issue for this map. Number 2. Hey look, I'm going to talk about the quota. I run eggs in this map more than any other map. That's not to say that I don't run eggs in other maps, but I prioritise it more here. I always have an eye on the timer and how far I am away from achieving the quota. Most times I lose on Bay, it's due to missing the quota and timing out, and the reason for that is that normal tide is so large and high tide is relatively long. In normal tide, the static bosses are far away from basket and far from each other. Some games it'll feel like you're just there to take out stingers and flyfish, and then all of a sudden it's 20 seconds left and you're short on quota. On high tide, there seems to be a stall of bosses at the far end due to trying to get those static bosses, and this can cause a pile-up that can be hard to manage. I'm not saying go egg crazy here and neglect everything else, but keep a close eye on it, especially for normal tide. Throw an extra egg or 2 if it's safe to do so. My rule of not dying in freelance is imperative though, so don't overextend and don't camp big shots. As an extra point, if you notice your teammates camping the big shot cannon and shooting eggs back to basket, you could go back to basket and run those eggs. I often notice on this map that everybody is keen to fire the eggs off, but not as keen to go back and run them. Sometimes that might be all you do in a game, but hey, you're securing quota and you're staying relatively safe while all the spawns gravitate towards those at the cannon. Number 3. Specials are more important on this map than any other map currently in rotation. I might get some heat for believing that, but trust me, once you start using your specials effectively to take out multiple bosses, your games will run so much smoother and wins will come much more naturally. I know Killer Whale kinda sucks, but it can line up 3 fast stingers or flyfish here, which is perfect if you're on a cramped high tide with several lids blocking your way. The same applies to Inkjet too, and your priorities must be stingers and flyfish due to their frustrating placements on this map. Inkjet and Crab are also perfect for groups of steelheads when you have a short-ranged weapon and need something to deal with them. Specials like Booyah and Ink Strike are perfect for clearing the platforms in front of Basket for both normal tide and high tide when things get a bit intense. They're great to use when you see multiple steelheads, fish sticks, scrappers and floppers descending onto the basket. And finally, Wavebreaker and Reef are perfect for maintaining safety of the basket area. You need to keep basket clear on this map due to the way your movement is heavily restricted, so using specials is a must. This isn't exhaustive and you can use all the specials to do many different things, but generally these are the ways I'd recommend using them. Obviously Ink Strike is perfect for multiple flyfish too, so be flexible with how you use them. My rule of thumb is always this: can my special do something that my main weapon can't? Yes? Then use it. Number 4. Understand how to use the lifts and understand how aggro works. So this mainly applies to normal tide, but it has some niche uses in low tide. The lifts are there to help you get back up to the boat quicker, but did you know that they can also be used to lure bosses to basket and remove aggro from yourself? If you want to lure in Marinas Bay, then you need to learn how aggro works and how to use the lifts to your advantage. You'll see in multiple clips in this video that when I leave the boat to go for fast spawns, I try to always touch the lift on my way. The reason for this is because it removes still ill aggro. Once you touch that lift, the ill will target someone else. This also works for gorillas. But it's important to understand the ramifications of doing this. I run to get rid of fast spawns, but I don't stay there too long, ensuring that I'm back by the lifts and on my way to intercept any ills that might be headed towards the basket. Removing aggro from yourself is fine when you need to, like running for fast spawns or if you have a slow weapon. But understand when you do this, you cause another player to take the aggro and this could potentially do harm. You can also use the lifts to bring up steelheads, scrappers and goldies, however this can be tricky and like most things in freelance is situational. Sometimes it's better to kill things at the bottom and use the lifts as safety to escape the hordes that will chase you. In low tide, if you want to use a special or have a slow weapon that needs a second to charge, consider backing off from basket and touching a lift, usually to the back left of the basket, to remove the eels from you and then safely kill them. This only works for eels. Every other boss will keep their aggro on you. By the way, the same applies for when you get to the top of a fish stick. The eel will then target someone else. Again, a good measure to ensure safety for a second, but it's important to get rid of the eel if you think it may be more dangerous to keep it alive. I should also take this moment to reinforce why painting the walls of the lifts are just as important. It can be the difference between surviving and not. So when you get a moment at the start of each wave, paint an escape route, because you will have to go down off the boat, but you want to make sure you have a safe route out if your teammates pull up the lift before you get there. Number 5, play around the spawns and play around the basket. This last bit of advice combines everything I've said before but also adds a final key point. Try not to stray too far from the basket area. Again, this is situational, but a core part of this advice involves awareness of the map and intuition of what to prioritise. For example, you see a stinger spawning at the back, but as you go for it you notice a scrapper and an eel targeting you. What do? Well, for me there's 2 options. The first is to either stun the scrapper and find a way to take the ill aggro off me and then go for the stinger. This also depends on whether the area around the stinger is safe and whether there are multiple stingers on the map too. There might be a ton of lessers swarming me and more bosses spawning. The other option is to leave the stinger for now and bring the other spawns back to basket. In the grand scheme of things, one stinger is not hard to dodge or play around, and rather than rushing to it and potentially dying and stalling all the bosses, coming back to basket and bringing the scrapper and eel means that spawns are heading closer to basket and eggs are easier to retrieve. Your teammates might also be around to help you too. This also works in reverse too. Is your teammate rushing to kill a stinger and you notice they have a scrapper following them? Steal the scrapper aggro from them and take it back to basket and secure those eggs. But what if there are multiple stingers and fly fish and big shots? Well, then use a special. Even Wave Breaker can help you here, as it will stun scrappers and damage lessers as you deal with the threats. Quickly control the static spawns and head back to basket, ensuring any lurables, such as moors and scrappers, can follow you there. Also, at the start of each game, check out where the snatchers are coming from. Can they do some of the work for you? Leave them and wait till they bring the eggs closer to basket. I usually lure within the means of the game I'm currently playing, and by that I mean is that I still aggro of moors and scrappers and bring them close to basket as I can. Sometimes your teammates will kill them further from basket than what you wanted, and to be honest, that's fine. If the scrapper is stalled as I'm bringing it back, I will kill it with my teammates rather than waiting or spamming this way. You have egg throw, meaning that even if the eggs aren't directly next to basket, then you can throw them. This also means consider your actions in the last 20 seconds of the game. Is quota low and there are stingers and big shots on the map? Try and ignore them and concentrate on basket area. Usually by this point in the game, spawns have come to basket one way or another, and rushing to kill a fast static spawn when quota should be priority is not the way to secure a victory. Stingers target the furthest person away from them, so consider bringing yourself slightly closer to them on the map compared to your teammates if you want to run eggs in the last 20 seconds. It means the stinger won't be on you and you'll have one less boss making your life hell. A lot of this advice might make you think, but isn't this a team game? Well yeah, a lot of freelance is playing in ways to make the lives of your teammates easier, but some aspects of freelance rely on you solely prioritizing yourself and doing what you absolutely need to in the closing seconds of the wave. I've mentioned this before, but I don't look at what my teammates are doing in terms of stalling bosses or dying. I have awareness of the game, but I try to focus on what I can do right now to win the game or clear the situations. And oftentimes that means making my life easier so I can commit to fulfilling the task at hand. Hope this video is helpful. Let me know what you think. I'll be back with more advice for the other maps in the future. Drop a follow if you like this and catch me streaming over on twitch.tv/Wachowski. I'll catch you guys soon.